Welcome to SoCalSportsReport.com's weekly podcast. I am John Stillman, along with Vince Morales and John Adams, and we're excited. I'm excited. A lifelong Angel fan. I'm really excited about Shohei Ohtani, the signing over the weekend. We'll talk a lot about that. As we do every week, we like to give our listeners a rundown of what we're going to be talking about, so you can tune in and out if you have to. We'll talk about Ohtani, the outlook for the Angels, the impact, and possibly a six-man rotation. There's been a lot of talk about that. We'll see how our guys feel about that. And we'll get into the Hot Stove League. The general managers are in Florida now, Lake Buena Vista, and looking for trades and free agent signings and rumors. And so we'll talk about that as it relates to both the Angels and the Dodgers. The Dodgers might need to shore up their roster. I think they lost Brandon Morrow, and they'll be. I'm sure they're always looking to spend money. Can anyone beat the Yankees after they sign Giancarlo Stanton? They're really hyping him up in New York. What do they call him now? It's not the Bash Brothers. I saw something in the paper today with he and Judge. But apparently they've already anointed them. They're going to win the next 4 or 5 World Series, so we might as well not even play the series this season. We'll talk about the Rams. A game they might have, could have, should have, maybe won. Some things happened in the fourth quarter that I wasn't really too pleased with. But this makes that Sunday game in Seattle now huge. They did become very fortunate that the Hawks lost down in Jacksonville, so that helped them out a lot. And the Chargers finally reached the top, reached 500 plus, and now they got a huge game in Kansas City this weekend, and that is the Sunday night game on, I think, CBS. Talk about that. Talk about the Kings. They're just rolling along, 8 in a row now. They may go undefeated the rest of the season. Ducks got Silverberg back, Getzlav back, and that's certainly gonna help them. They've got a lot of catching up to do, but it's a long season. Chip Kelly adds 3 new coaches, and the high school recruiting period is, I guess, underway or about to be underway. Yeah. What do the Trojans do about their staff? There have been a lot of criticisms that Clay Helton will be allowed to stay there, but he better make some changes that Len Swan would like to see. We'll see. We'll talk about that. SC UCLA basketball seems to be leveling off. The Trojans aren't nowhere to be found in the top 25. I think UCLA only got 6 votes in the others received category after 25. The balls, we can't keep them out of the sports page. Now the 2 younger brothers are going to Lithuania to play in a very low level the Baltic League.
Good. That's right. Putting the ball in Baltic. Good.
And this is going to be a 1 month. They'll be on a trial basis. I can just wait until the 16-year-old gets bounced around by some of the athletes in this league may not be very good, but they're older and they're bigger and they're stronger, and he's going to get. I think he's going to get an education there.
Good.
And they say, I heard today that the coach of the team that they're going to is the LeVar Ball of Lithuania, which at least he'd be used to it. We'll look at the Lakers. They're in New York tonight. They tip off at 4 o'clock. Third game on a 4-game trip. They've won 2 in a row. And the Clippers are starting to, I don't know where they're headed, but they got some problems there. So let's get started with the signing of Ohtani by the Angels over the weekend. Obviously, it's a help. I mean, it's going to help him. He's a great talent. Nobody knows how good he's going to be. I mean, you've seen phenoms come and go. The guy has a pretty good history in Japan. He's young. He wants to learn. He wants to get better, and I think he's going to be an impact player. Maybe not this year, but let's just talk about him overall, and then maybe we'll talk about how that affects a possible 6-man rotation. But just his mere presence in that lineup.
Yeah, it's I think he brings some great talent. Again, I'm a wait and see guy.
Right.
It's Japanese baseball versus Major League Baseball is much different. I like that he has that in him and that he wants to become a better player and face the best. It does help our rotation. Mm-hmm. I think one of the important things here is that you possibly keep him on the routine that he's used to, which is if that means you only pitch him once a week, you only pitch him once a week.
I think he pitches every seventh day.
Right, yeah. So if that means you got to bring in a Meyer to a Bridwell to, I don't know, whoever's,
They've got
later, to do that, then I think you do that. But I think it's important that you don't try to make him do something he's not used to doing.
Right.
I know that the way to get him is to agree to everything that he wants, right? So it's going to be quite unique when you start to put this kid in the lineup as a DH, right? They already said he's not going to play the outfield.
No.
I don't know if he can play first base, but
he won't play there,
right? So he's just going to be a DH. Do you put him, out of the lineup the day before he pitches and then the day after? I don't know how the rest, how that's all going to work out. But one thing that's a little interesting that I've kind of thought about that I'm not happy with is, you've got a young, aggressive, good pitcher that hits left-handed. So his whole right side is exposed. So anything that's pitched in could catch an elbow, could catch a hand, could catch anything on his right side, which doesn't help his pitching, obviously. So that scares me a little bit because Major League Baseball players, they like to bring it in to work away, right? So I get a little scared when that whole right side is exposed on a left-handed hitter, and when he's a right-handed pitcher, that scares me a little bit. Looked at his numbers today, and it was his 2016 year was quite impressive. Not as many games. I kind of put him towards what Trout was at, in 2016. And he's got 98 strikeouts in 104 games, at 323 at bats. I mean, he had some 22 HRs, 67 RBIs. I mean, there's some positives. There's the OBP's 416, the slugging percentage is 588. I mean, it's all looks really good. Mm-hmm. But then last year he had lower leg problems, so he didn't play as much. So his numbers obviously were down. So I think where I get a little scared is you got to keep this kid healthy, and you need to try to keep him. The slow one wins the race here. Right. So, but.
I think there's still a lot of questions about Ohtani. Look, it captures the imagination. It's exciting. You've got a guy who can mash as well as throw 100 miles per hour. The Angels and Angel fans should be really excited to see him. I think when you just start peeling back the layers a little bit, you start to wonder about whether that is the most prudent thing. To continue to trot him out there as a DH. Are you really going to get your money's worth eventually? Right now, it's $20 million plus $500,000 plus whatever bonus they gave him. So he's a bargain. It seems to be a bargain. For me, I start to wonder, what happens when there's no DH. They waive off the DH. You've lost the DH for the game. Let's say he goes 4 innings. Let's say he gets blown up. I mean, do you just keep him in and keep throwing him? Mm-hmm. It causes, for me, some question marks about how you manage that game. So you wave off the DH for the game and he's in. Is he hit? So then you take him out. Now you got a pinch hit. Now it's like you're in the National League, right?
So you're saying they're going to pitch him and hit him in the same game?
He won't ever hit when
I don't think he's going to hit when he pitches.
No.
Yeah.
Then that makes more sense to me. But to me, it's like, well. Seems a little. I mean, look. It just seems like, hey, you get to hit and pitch. It's like,
no. I think they kind of looked at him and said, yeah, he's going to get to hit when he doesn't pitch.
Yeah.
And for me, if that was a selling point for the American League versus the National League, it's not. It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's just nonsense. You get to hit every game you pitch in. You numbnuts. I mean, come on. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
but I don't. I don't know if that was actually.
So maybe they can pinch hit him, in a game where they, So first of all, I don't want to be dictated to by a 24, 23-year-old, whatever he is, kid, that I need to do this and I want to do that. And it's like, now it's like, okay, we'll do whatever you want.
But we talked about it, Vince, last week. You just go, yes, yeah, sure. Just get him into camp.
Yeah,
just get him into camp.
Exactly,
and
exactly.
Then you kind of slowly change that story, right? Yeah. And you change the tune to where you want it to be like this. And then you're able to sell it to him. This is why we're doing this, right? But I think you pitch him once a week and you maybe hit him twice a week or whatever, maybe 3 times a week because, I mean, looking at the numbers, he's better than Crone as a DH, and he's better than, Valbuena and these other guys, Marte, he's better than those guys as a DH. Well, so far, on paper. He's going to be looking at, he's going to see.
He's not facing Ohtani type pitching,
correct,
right?
Exactly.
He's not facing.
Time will tell, but it's going to be, I tell you right now, that the Angel games are going to be nuts down spring training. And I think, there's going to be a big Asian presence now with Anaheim, and so.
Any team that was trying to sign him, that was the right thing to do. It was the absolute right thing to do. He could be a generational, once in a generation type talent. He just could be. Mm-hmm. And if he's hitting, 15 home runs for you and giving you 20 starts, 20 quality starts in a season.
I mean, if you look at his hitting, I mean, he went 8 and started in 13. He had 3 HRs, 10 HRs, 5 HRs. Then he actually he had 323 at bats, had 22 HRs in 2016, which was his big. I think this is when he came out to everybody like, wow, this guy's Babe Ruth. But then the next year he only had 8 HRs because I think he had lower body injuries.
Right.
So, yeah, he had a heck of a year in 2016, and this is where I think it got really, really, the wow factor came into play. But, last year, I'd really like to know what those injuries are that caused, was it because he was playing in the field and at a DH and he hurt himself pulling a hamstring running or something like that?
Right.
That's the kind of stuff I'd like to know, why his numbers were so down as a hitter in 17. So.
Yeah, and he didn't make the starts either. He only started 5 games.
Yeah.
Last year.
But I mean, his numbers as a pitcher are great.
Oh yeah,
really good.
Yeah.
So. And the Japanese guys that have come over, Nomos and these kind of Nomos Japanese, right? If I'm right, the Nomos and these guys, they've been successful, and so that's the positive. Putting this kid in the rotation. Like I said, he's better than Shoemaker, right? And I think if you look at our if you got a healthy Richards and Haney and Ramirez, and Skaggs, and I mean, I think it's a really good rotation. If that 6th guy can slide in there and do well, like
I like
Meyer,
the idea of I like the idea of a 6-man rotation. Not so much to keep Ohtani happy, but just I think that spread over the season, that's going to keep the Angels healthier.
I think it's a good idea at the very beginning, at least for till like All-Star break, and then your guys should be healthy enough to be able to knock that down to a 4. A 5.
But let's recognize who planted the flag in that notion. That was the Dodgers.
Yeah,
they were the first ones on that planet and planting their flag in that 6, 7, starters, and using the 10-day DL
because you had them
liberally
because you had 6 pitchers.
Yeah. How are you feeling? I'm okay. Oh, you paused. You're on the 10-day,
right?
Yeah. If you don't answer fast enough, you're on the 10-day.
Right. Exactly.
He's got a tongue issue.
But then on the other side, the Angels have to worry about a third baseman. I know they're talking to Moustakas, so hopefully there's something like that could. But again, we don't have a backup first baseman, so there's. I know this is a good start, but I mean it needs to continue.
Right, there's more than
there's more than just
there's holes in that lineup.
Correct. Yeah.
The pitching staff is critical, but there's holes.
Yeah.
Like you said, who's going to be
the third baseman?
The third baseman.
Yeah. Second baseman too.
Yeah, second base as well. First base.
Well, Albert's in great shape. Albert's had his first non-rehab winter in how many years?
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
I'm taking a page out of John's book. I'll believe it when I see it.
Well,
Because according to the real birth certificate on Albert, that we may never know the truth about, he could be 2 years old, a year or two older than he actually is. It just seemed that way. It seemed like he was really wearing down. And, you saw what happened to, a guy like Adrian Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Pujols is a Hall of Famer. There's just no two ways about it. Most Hall of Famers tend to do that little dip, and then, they come back up. And hopefully for the Angels, that's what happens with Albert. But as far as health is concerned, I won't believe that. He's not going to get down the line any faster.
No.
That's
That's true.
Yeah, it'll still take my calendar to get there. Yeah.
Well, they're talking about 50 or 60 games at first base for Albert this year.
I'll believe it when I see it.
That might be a stretch.
I think it's a stretch.
That could be a stretch.
I'll take 30.
And again, that's part of that thing where, if you get sort of backed into a corner with Ohtani, that he's demanding so many games, and then at DH, and then Pujols is going to play first base because they want Pujols and Ohtani in the same lineup. Those are sort of the variables that you just can't count on. You just don't know.
But again, I mean, and maybe this is something where you look at Albert and say, I know I'm paying you a lot of money, but we might be resting you a little bit more with if Ohtani's going to be the DH, right? Because maybe that's exactly what you need is rest, And by the way, your numbers show that you might need some rest. You had some power numbers, but your overall average was not very good.
Yeah, he got the 100 and the 30, but his average was what, 240?
Yeah, at best. It was, So,
I still think they have a deep enough staff to go 6 starters after Richards and Ohtani. Haney, well, he's coming back from injury. Skaggs, Bridwell was a find.
Meyer had some good show.
I think he's out all this year.
Meyer, is he out the whole year?
I think so, yeah. But they got Jesse Ramirez, Shoemaker, Tropiano's back.
See, that's the other thing. Is Shoemaker back?
Yeah, is he going to pitch like 214?
Or is he going to be more of a now kind of a mid reliever? Or a fill-in guy because I think you got to go more with the youth. To be honest with you,
this is a pretty young staff. Shoemaker's the oldest starter there at 30. Richards is 29. Ramirez is 28.
I mean, I know that he can at times when he gets really good, Shoemaker can eat up innings, but you're only going to want to keep him on that staff just in case Richards goes down after 5 innings in the first game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think that's the real puzzle there is how healthy is Richards, and
that's the key. I think that's really the key.
And how long can he last?
In 2015 he was 32 starts, 15 and 12, 365, 207 innings. The last 2 years he's only pitched 34 innings and 27 innings. That's the real key.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot to be hopeful about with that, but it still has that sort of house of cards feeling.
Right, and then going back to the 6-man rotation, that might help Richards more rest, right?
Yeah,
that might help Richards also.
Yeah, I like the idea of a 6-man rotation.
Yeah,
I do.
Again, the thing to avoid there is you wait too long and your sharpness goes away. Mm-hmm. Your command suffers.
Yeah.
Your velocity may be up, but if you're not throwing it for strikes,
that's right.
So to assume you just probably throw more bullpens, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think that's the way to go. Look, the Dodgers made it work with their staff, and but that's not how the playoffs work.
True. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And that's why I say probably after the All-Star break, you shrink that down, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And make them go a little bit more. So
yeah.
We'll get into the Hot Stove League a little bit too. Let's talk about the Dodgers first. Vinny, what do you think? They need to do a little tweaking maybe, but certainly not much.
I was hoping they were going to do some tweaking. I never really felt like they were true players for Stanton. I didn't think that what they were willing to offer as far as and how much contract they were going to be able to take.
$265 million the Yankees took.
Yeah, exactly. And the Dodgers would not have been able to do that.
It's ridiculous.
And so I didn't feel like they were a true player for Stanton. the thing is that you have to have, as a Dodger fan, you have to have faith in Zaidi and Friedman. They really put something together last year. There were missteps. Obviously, the Franklin Gutierrez experiment, you didn't get a lot of at-bats. That was not the answer in left field. But that sort of was the domino that toppled and actually resulted in some positive things with Kike Hernandez moving around, getting some time there, Chris Taylor out there, and also the Tolles ACL injury, really opened some things up where they had to be a little bit more creative. And so they feel like they're probably going to have to shore up the bullpen, obviously losing Morrow to the Cubs. They just weren't going to spend $11 million. Yeah. They just weren't. And I'm surprised the Cubs did, frankly. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a big number. That's a big number.
I agree.
Well, they lost Davis.
Yeah.
But still, that's huge.
Yeah. And I don't think the Dodgers were willing to do that. It's a 2-year deal,
isn't it?
Yeah.
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 But I know, and I think you can agree with me, it was really a smoke and mirrors type of season last. They found guys that could fit. That's their whole deal. Is like, I took my shortstop and I put him in center field, and the bats were the bats. But I mean, losing Tolles, that would have been just another little help there. And then you probably have some minor league guys that actually this year are going to make the roster. I would assume, yeah, or
maybe. I'm looking at it and thinking, who? I mean, Verdugo. It's another left-handed bat. I don't know. I don't know if Verdugo makes the roster, frankly.
Yeah.
It's gonna look a lot. It's going to look very similar to a team that won 104 games. So there were times when it felt like it was smoke and mirrors, but the bottom line was, you don't win 104 games by chance. That's just not chance. You have to have the players, and and there was just situational hitting that looked to be a lot better. Hernandez hit better against left-handers this year than before. Chris Taylor, had a career year. A lot of that was probably, wow, who would have predicted that? But some of the things were in place for that team, obviously. What happens now is you've got this just bloated payroll. Yeah. The Dodgers don't seem concerned about that. I mean,
do you lose Gonzalez? Is his contract done, or are you still
no? He's got another year, $22 million.
Okay.
And Scott Kazmir, who has been on a milk carton for is $18 million.
Yeah.
He's 33 years old and $18 million, and then. So those are the two contracts that need to be moved, or something needs to be discussed about what happens with those guys. Those are big, humongous numbers for not a lot of productivity, and in fact, zero productivity when it comes to Kazmir, and almost zero when it comes to Gonzalez, whose power numbers were off, and it just wasn't there. But the core is there. You've got Kershaw, Hill, Wood, Maeda. The Dodgers were very smart. They just said we're going to arbitration with everybody. We're going. We are whatever arbitration says. They've agreed to arbitration and with Grandal, with Jock Peterson, Kike Hernandez, Alex Wood, Avilan, Baez, Tony Cingrani, and Josh Fields. Those are smart things. Those were a lot of those guys were pieces in what the Dodgers were doing out of the bullpen and around the diamond. So. It's still there. I'm hopeful. You would have liked to have seen them add on because other teams are likely to get better. But I'm a believer now that, Friedman and Zaidi and Roberts know what they're doing. And, Friedman the other day said, what luxury tax? We don't put payroll cap. That's not how we look at things around here. Yeah. And it's a luxury to have. And but at some point somebody's going to look down and say, well, hold on, guys, you've been over the threshold every year for what I think the past 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And now they're going to be paying that luxury tax at 95% if they're over next year. So it goes up incrementally, and it'll be close to, as far as the contracts look, they're going to be paying almost 100% of that tax.
Yeah.
Of what they're over. So. Those are big numbers, and those add up, and it's the reason why they weren't in the running for maybe for Morrow. They couldn't sign him for $11 million because they've got money tied up in some huge contracts. They still owe money to Matt Kemp. They still,
Jeez.
So there are not a lot of money, but enough, enough for a nice little chance on a reliever or something like that. So that's where the Dodgers are going to concentrate. They seem to have things shored up. As far as the diamond is concerned, they picked up the contract on Logan Forsythe.
Yeah,
it's likely that they could re-sign Utley if he's willing to play another year. That wasn't an ideal. He didn't end the year well. He got, looked pretty bad at times. Yeah. But there were times during the season when that was a pretty good platoon.
Right.
And once Forsythe was healthy, you saw what kind of player.
Yeah, no, he's great in the playoffs in the series.
He could become, and he got better and better. And if he can stay healthy, that would be a good platoon. Or they start, where are they going? They bring somebody up, but. Things are stable. They're not going to have to rely on. I think the big question marks are what happens with Adrian Gonzalez, what happens with Scott Kazmir, and it looks like Urias is not coming back this year.
Really?
That's the indication that he might not be back this season. And clearly the Dodgers knew something. They knew something was up with that kid. They treated him with kid gloves from the very beginning. The inning restrictions and trying not to rush him.
When you say not coming back, meaning he's going to stay in AAA or gonna?
No, I don't think he's going to pitch.
Not going to pitch.
He might not pitch.
Oh, really?
No. Again, we don't know. But that recovery, that was serious stuff.
Well, I heard they're also talking to Darvish still.
Yeah, I think they're gonna listen to him. Mm-hmm. They're going to talk to him. I don't think that.
I heard a thing the other day that read the other day that the unnamed Astro was saying that it was very easy for him to read the tipping of the pitches.
No, it was Beltran. It was Carlos Beltran.
Oh, it was. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. When I read it, it was said unnamed, so
it was Beltran.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's universally known that it was Beltran.
Because he was at Texas with him, huh? Yeah. Gotcha.
It may not have been, 100% for sure, but I think that's what everybody was indicating. And, that the Darvish experiment didn't quite work. And the Dodgers, it's just not worth another big contract. Yeah. Not as far as I'm concerned. They've got another righty, Walker Buehler, who coming up. What happens with Stripling or
right,
or your Brock Stewart? I don't know, Brandon McCarthy.
They say he might end up back in Texas.
Who?
Darvish.
Yeah, Darvish.
Yeah.
Which would be funny, right?
Yeah, wouldn't it be? Let's stay in the hot stove for a bit. Let's see. The one thing we didn't talk about is regarding Ohtani is if they do go with 6 starters, that's going to be a 13-man pitching staff, which is going to eliminate somebody on the bench. And so they're looking now for versatile type free agents who can play 2 or 3 positions, because you can't zero in on just, a one position guy if you're going to lose a spot on the bench. And their bullpen, they picked up Jim Johnson.
Yeah, saw that.
From former closer in Baltimore. Yeah. He had 51 saves in 12 and 50 saves in 2013. Picked him up from Atlanta. I think he's going to help. Blake Parker, Alvarez, Middleton. But they're, they want to carry 7 relievers. So they're going to have to...
I'd like them to go get another lefty.
Be careful with...
Alvarez is the only one.
Who's that?
Alvarez is the only one.
Yeah. So that's going to kind of hamstring who they do draft. I saw a couple of names out there that they might. Of course, Moustakas is a guy that's been his.
There's nothing flexible there.
Yeah,
no, not at all.
Plus his defense,
unless he can play first base. I don't know.
His defense is not that terrific, but he's got a good power bat. They're talking about
Neil Walker.
Yeah, Walker, Cesar Hernandez from Philadelphia. Nunez also, who can play third base and shortstop, back up at short. But Danny Valencia. But they're they've really got to look.
There's not a lot of pretty things out there.
No, they're not things that are going to sell season tickets.
Yeah, it's not a wow factor. Yeah.
So they've got some problems. They're going to have some problems, I think, getting some of those holes filled.
Mm-hmm.
3 guys I've decided that I don't want to see back. You guys might disagree. Luis Valbuena, who they keep talking about as a first-third baseman, and let's let him be the left-handed hitting third baseman.
Oh boy.
117 games. Yeah, he hit 22 home runs and drove in 65 runs. But he batted 199.
Yeah. And a ton of strikeouts, too.
199. OPS was on base percentage was 294.
Yeah.
And I've had it with Khalib Cohort.
Yeah. Again, yeah. I mean,
he's been a phenom every spring. He comes up and has a good week. And C.J. Cron.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've run out of patience with C.J. Cron.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They're going to have to do some maneuvering.
They're going to have to do
manipulating.
some digging, is what they're going to have to do.
Yeah, I would like to see.
Unless there's somebody down below that's.
We don't know about.
Might
Well, I don't think there's anybody down below that you don't know about.
You had already saw
It is paper thin
Yeah.
in that organization.
Yeah.
I would like to see him sign Moustakas, though, even though there's no versatility there.
I think that's going to have to be a healthy contract that they're going to have to bite the bullet on.
Yeah. Well,
they're going to have to somewhere, whether it's the
First baseman or third baseman.
Yeah.
one of the corners.
Because you can always fill in somebody with the second baseman. He hits ninth and plays second base, and you could probably go get Phillips for a good price.
Yeah,
play second base.
he was decent last year.
Mm-hmm.
Hamilton dropped off the payroll finally, thank goodness.
Yep.
So that's $25,000. Although Upton ate up a lot of that with the extension. That's one thing good. At least going into the spring training, the Angels are going to have a solid outfield. There's no question in the outfield, but they've got enough other questions to be concerned about. All right.
As we were transitioning into the hot stove league, I wanted to ask you guys this question: do the New York Yankees erect a second statue to Derek Jeter? One for him as a player, and one for him, what he's doing for them as, in the front office at Miami.
And I think it's going to cost $30 million for the statue.
I think the Yankees are voting for Derek Jeter as AL executive.
Oh yeah, he's already as far as they're concerned.
Exactly.
He's going to get their trophy for executive of the year.
And they're even going to give the Yankees another $30 million if he opts out.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Oh, really? Another $30 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
They only kept back 30, but they're going to give that to him if he opts out after 2020.
They are just clearing out, contracts. Yeah. Ozuna.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm wondering if they ever had any of these kind of aggressive talks with any other team other than the Yankees. I know that they were talking to other teams.
We had that no trade clause.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. He was very adamant about that.
Yeah, no. I'm glad. At least he didn't go to the Giants.
Thank God. I'm with you. Amen.
Don't need that happening. Yeah. So the Yankees are going to have a monster lineup. Their pitching's pretty good too. The
pitching's okay, but although we're talking to CC Sabathia right now.
Yeah.
Also.
Where is he?
So where's he going to go?
The Angels were discussing that. I mean, they're in talks.
Yeah. They're in talks with him, but I hope they put him on a weight control deal, kind of like Panda in San Francisco. But
the Yankees just traded Headley.
Yeah, so San Diego, and somebody else, right? I don't know what was in the whole trade, but they're going to be the Bronx Bombers again. But are they? A lot of these guys strike out a lot, so if you face good pitching, can you shut them down? I mean, I think that the one guy that, if he's hot, is going to make that lineup really, really good is Sanchez. Sanchez has been up and down, and when he's down, it's really bad.
Yeah.
But when he's hot, that really makes that lineup just because they're going to go 3, 4, 5 with those guys.
Yeah,
right?
but my God, when they're going right,
it's going to be stupid good.
Stupid good.
Yeah, stupid good. Yeah,
ridiculous.
So that's the whole deal. I mean, you've got to take advantage of them when they're down, right?
Yeah.
And
Judge struck out a lot.
He struck out a lot. Sanchez got in a bad slump. Stanton's probably the most consistent guy there.
Yeah,
and then,
for sure.
The shortstop's really good there too. Shortstop, forget his name, but he had a really good series against Cleveland. So Yeah, I think it's going to be scary good. But it's going to be back to that when Reggie played, and you had them all lined up.
Right.
Started off with Randolph, and went over and had O'Neal and all those guys. It was crazy. It was just once he hit the weakest guy was like the 7 hitter. You know what I mean? So yeah, it could be dangerous. Really could.
You think Judge is going to have any problems with the sophomore jinx?
Well, it could happen.
He's been around once now.
There's holes in that swing.
Got a pretty good.
There's holes in that swing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always going to be the question of whether he's going to have that sophomore jinx. And again, he's a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this with Cody Bellinger and with Judge. It's okay for a Bellinger to have those types of slumps because you think, okay, he's young,
he's learning,
but Judge is a little older,
mm-hmm.
and he's had time in the minors to sort of work that out. And there was times when he could not put the bat on the ball. I mean, he just could.
He hit 240 or something in the minors. Like, it was bad, and he has it on his phone. He has the thing on his phone that it says, when he feels like he's on top of the world, he goes back to those stats of when he was in the minors struggling, and it kind of brings him down to earth, saying, "Hey, look at this, could go south real fast."
Yeah, well, you don't want to live there. I mean, he's beyond that now. I think he's at a point where he doesn't need that for motivation anymore. There's a lot of expectations in the Bronx.
And he's gone through rotations twice or 3 times now, so now he understands how these guys pitch to him. So
yeah, but he got back on the upswing, and I'm not too worried about him. I just don't think that he's, as far as I'm concerned, Cody Bellinger has way higher ceiling than Aaron Judge. To me, there's just no two ways about it. There's absolutely no 2 ways about it.
Yeah.
So he needs to keep those, as far as Judge is concerned, he just needs to keep those things, tempered. And the Yankee fans can't expect him to be Giancarlo Stanton.
What do you guys think about the Aaron Boone hire?
Talk about
he's an SC guy. I love him, but
talk about the hot seat.
What? Who knows? Right?
Exactly.
Who knows?
Because you're going to deal with some egos on that team.
That's right.
If with a legacy type of franchise like the Dodgers, when they took Roberts on, it was like, well, he had coached. People knew what was going on. I think there was a little bit of a red flag when the Padres didn't really even consider him for their open position, but then you realize that the Padres are the Padres. So,
right.
But with this, I think it's an indication that it's all about the front office is playing more of a role. Analytics is playing more of a role. There's a way to kind of look down the chart and set up the lineup and set up the rotation.
It's not like you're a puppet, but you're close to being a
puppet.
You're close to being a puppet, right?
Yeah.
But I think Aaron, his brother had the biggest ego in the world, right? Brett Boone. Geez, he couldn't fit his head inside a door. So I think he's been around big egos. So I think he's gonna do okay there. And I think, after being, watching all of this baseball for the last 4 or 5 years and doing ESPN games, where else were you going to go? It's not a bad hire, right?
Right.
It makes me wonder how big of a chap ass did Girardi have to be to lose that job?
I agree.
Yeah. And
nobody's ran towards Girardi, right? Nobody's ran to go get that guy.
Yeah.
So there's something. There's
a lot of wins in that guy's resume, and yet.
There's nobody even bringing him on as an assistant to a GM. Like, none of that's happening.
Maybe
he's kind of told his agent, like, taking a year break. I'm just going to step away from it.
I think I saw something where he had the most wins of any manager over the last 5 years, or 10 years, whatever his tenure was. Okay, Rams.
Boy, they really,
Gurley carries the ball 13 times or 16 times.
I'm going to let you guys talk about this. I was at the Charger game, so I'll talk about the Charger game. So you guys talk about the Rams game.
Right.
We were like watching the Charger game, then trying to watch the Ram game behind us, and So we were watching on the phone. We didn't get to. So I'm going to let you guys.
I think that's one of the disappointing things about that game is that if you look at it, Gurley got the number of touches that I guess they want him to get as far as with passes and. running plays, but when you abandon that ship too early, you see what happens, and then you're just one mistake away from losing to Nick Foles, which is what they did.
Yep.
They knock out Wentz gets knocked out,
yep.
and you get it to Nick Foles, and at that point, it's like getting it to a bad bullpen, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly. Yeah.
Foles was solid enough. The Rams made some mistakes. I'm not totally discouraged, but it could have been.
It's not like you lost to a cream pie.
It would have been nice to get that 2-game gap on the Seahawks.
Yeah.
And there's another. Now they're 2-2 in your guys' minds in playoff games.
Right.
But again, in the game. Wasn't a blowout.
No.
Like, it had every chance of winning that game.
Chance to win it, yeah.
So, a learning. But here you go. You're going to go playoff game to playoff game. Like, here's another one right in a row.
Right.
So, hopefully you just keep learning from that. And, again, I think it's in your guys' in the Rams' favor that the Seahawks went all the way across the country, lost. Now they're coming all the way back. Rams are here, just going to go up, and you're playing a banged-up Seattle team. That being said, they're going to stay in that game. I think I read the other day, Russell Wilson is leads the league in being knocked down the most as a quarterback.
Yeah.
And that's where that Donald and your guys' defense have to do that. And when you do that, you can take care of business. So, this is the game. This is what makes you and gets you in the playoffs, and this is what So this is it. I mean, I'm not going to say this is your Super Bowl, but it's close to it, right?
And plus you're going to have a ruckus crowd up there. It's a tough place.
It's insane. It's
closed stadium.
You've got to win on the road. That's what you do to make the Super Bowl. You're not going to get to
And the Rams have been good on the road.
Right.
They've done all right.
The Rams have been very good on the road, and that was probably the most disappointing thing about that loss is you had that team at home. You knocked out the starting quarterback, their all-world quarterback. You have a chance to go up, 2 games on your rival. At the time, they didn't know because the Hawks were playing at the same time as them. But you're always hoping you win and they lose and you gain a game. There were some things about the play calling. Again, you start thinking, wow, maybe that's a young coach who's making those some bad play calling decisions. And then Goff, if you watch that play where he had the ball knocked out late, which was the game changer, he had a check down. He's got to make that check down. He's got to make that check down. Protect that ball, right? Extend the play. He's trying to extend the play, but he was looking way downfield, and he had a guy popping open under. You got to see that. But that timer went off in his head, but he was looking down instead of trying to check down. That's the ego there of a guy who's got a big arm and whose offensive line has really protected him.
Yeah.
So wipe the slate, flush that toilet. It's gone, and move on. Mm-hmm. Because this is the game. That was the big game. Now this is the big game.
Yeah. It's going to be a good one. All right, John.
So, first things first, what a great place to watch a football game. The worst seat in the house is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's
a soccer stadium, right?
It's small.
Yeah,
so the worst seat at the very top is like the club level of a regular stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was. I mean, we had great seats, right?
Right.
So that was fun, but it was the first time this season that I saw that they knew they were a better team. They knew that the Washington Redskins were really hurt, and it's the first time I saw them put the gas pedal down and not stop. They pulled Rivers with 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter, knowing this is how confident they felt about their defense, one, and how their offense was moving the ball. And he really threw against to the tight end really well, had big plays, ran the ball well. I mean, it all added up. Now, again, they're weak, right? Washington's down. But that front line defense continues to disrupt everything about any offense that comes their way. And that's what's going to happen this next week against Kansas City.
Yeah,
one thing I did notice, though, and I get a little scared, is a guy like Kelsey could have a huge game if Smith finds him. The middle was open a lot for the tight ends.
The secondary is not up to the same snuff as
I think they're okay on the corners, but I mean, right in the safety area to where Perryman's a madman as an inside linebacker, and he's doing a great job. But there is a lot of openness in the middle. That's where they're going to, if they do their scouting right, they're going to find a lot of openness in the middle of the field, and that's where Kelsey loves to catch the football. So that scares me a little bit. I didn't mind Kansas City winning last week. I mean, it's probably going to give them a little boost of confidence, but I would hate to have that offer going and then they find it against us. So, so I'm really looking forward to this. This game is going to be a great football game. I think you got great football this weekend.
Oh yeah.
To be honest with you, it's going to be awesome. So that was what I noticed is that they just kept the gas down and they just kept going to their jugular, and it was just well balanced. Everything went great, and
that's
so it was fun. It was fun to watch and get them to 500 and just keep going.
How was the crowd? Did we have more Charger fans?
You had more Charger fans than you had Redskin fans, but you did see maroon jerseys around. By the way, what was the Philly? What was it like in L.A.?
It was good. It was a good crowd for the Rams. It was the Phillies always. Philadelphia always travels well.
Right.
And late in a game when the Rams are doing some disappointing things, and you can hear the Eagles fans, but it wasn't a definitive thing. The Rams had a good crowd. So, for me, one of the barometers that I use on the Chargers is that. San Diego Talk Radio is talking less and less about them now that they're winning.
Right.
They used to be like used to want to love to just stomp on those guys when they were down, and you see more of those people who were so Facebook friends and people who were so disappointed. They didn't think they would ever go to a game in LA, and now it's like, you know what? I think we're going to go to a game in LA. And again, it's anecdotal. I have no statistics on this. It's just, but it feels like. They're starting to that crowd, right? They're starting to embrace that team.
Oh yeah. And winning does that, right?
Yep, it does.
So they just keep trickling over and trickling over and trickling over. But
college season over, so now those college fans.
But you're right, exactly. I guarantee you that place will be full of Raider fans on New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, I think it is.
31st.
It's gonna be insane, and I'll tell you right now because I talked to some season ticket holders. He goes, "Yeah, I'm getting good price for my tickets right now if I want to give them away." Yeah. So that is going to be a full home game for the Raiders. It's going to get ugly. It's just, I had season ticket holders telling me I'm selling my Raider seats. They say that. These are Charger guys.
Yeah.
I don't care if they run the gamut. I'm selling my Raider seats. Just because they don't want to be around the atmosphere. And two, they can get a chunk for their money.
Yeah, they pay for the whole season.
Well, they can't, but it'll pay for a good part of it, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so here's something that's interesting. Talking to season ticket holders. So I said, "Oh, so are you going to go when it goes to L.A.?" And he goes, "No, I'm not." And I said, "Why is that?" He goes, "Well, for 4 seats right now, and when I buy, my lunch or whatever here, and when I tailgate and stuff like that." I'm spending $750, okay,
per game
for my 4 seats, gas, whatever. He goes, my bill is about $750.
Okay.
He says, they pretty much told me you can automatically double that in LA for the seats, the parking. Oh, parking's $100 for the parking, the seats, and everything. He goes, I'm looking now at $1,500 for my 4 seats and my parking, and they're nailing me for $8,000 to $12,000 a seat to secure those seats.
The seat license.
Seat license.
Yeah, license.
$8,000 to $12,000.
Right. So it's the seat license, then the price per ticket per game,
right,
and then all the rest.
So now he goes, my Sunday is pretty much $1,500 to go to a football game. And I'm like, and he goes, I just got priced out because I can't do it.
Yeah, they're gonna.
Let alone writing the chunk down to save the seat for $8,000 to $12,000. And he goes, they're trying to make this look like it's like a membership at a country club, right? Hopefully the equity goes up, so when you do sell, you make make me $4,000 or $5,000 off your seat, because you give up that right.
Right.
So it's going to be quite interesting who they're going to get to pay that kind of money to watch the Chargers. Now, again, winning sells tickets. So if they continue to win and be competitive in the AFC West and in the AFC, then, but again, I wonder if the Jets probably have the same thing, right? They probably do that same thing at the Giants and the Jets, right? So that was quite interesting to learn that statistic. I didn't know it was that much.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, Kings. We'll let Vince.
One of the questions you asked when we were talking about what topics about the Kings was, is this for real or are they going to come back down to earth? The thing to remember is they started out hot, right? Had a cold stretch, and now they're hot again.
Yeah.
This road trip, this 4-game road trip, I think is going to be telling. They've played 30 games. I mean, we're almost halfway there. Mm-hmm. I think at some point you got to say, this is the team.
They're for real.
Yeah.
Quick is in the best shape he's ever been in. But there are no problems, knock on wood, injury wise that he had last year with the, his groin and lower, right in there in the midsection. He is terrific. And we've talked about the pace. Iafallo, Brodzinski and Kempe. It's changed some things, and then Carter's hurt and have barely missed him.
But your backup goalie holds his own.
Oh, Kemper's terrific.
Yeah,
he's got the one of the best goals against average.
Yeah.
in the NHL. So when Quick's in there, and then it's not even barely a step down,
right,
to Kemper,
right. And those guys that are playing in front of him know that.
Absolutely,
they know that.
Absolutely,
they look. It's just like when Quick's hot, he's really hot. But even when he's just good, the guy's just as good,
Yeah.
and that's just comforting that you got guys in front of them that say, we know things are going to get done back there.
They're killing penalties.
Yeah.
Again, when you've got a goalie that good, your defense is solid, and your penalty kill lines put a little pressure on the other team. Good things happen. So in New Jersey tonight, we'll see what happens on this road trip.
Well, they got four more on the road.
Yeah. And for me, I feel like this team is absolutely for real. This team has the staying power. As long as they stay healthy.
That's
Kopitar already with 30+ points. Dustin Brown again, and then Toffoli and Pearson. And the kids have been great. Kempe.
The only thing that can stop them would be injuries.
Correct.
As long as they
but
stay
again,
healthy.
even when injuries are going, their younger guys are filling the role.
Yeah.
And that's I think, like Vince says, that happens to be that when your goalies are doing their job. Yeah, they're probably going to stop a couple more shots on goal. But if they're doing their job, it just those kids are they're filling that gap. And that's what good teams do. They fill those gaps. And so when you get a star that goes down, where, the Ducks, I mean, I'm not going on the Ducks yet, but the Ducks are, when stars go down, we feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The coaching change, there was just, I think that there were times when, last year that youth was not served. And that was a problem. And so when the front office, when the owners decided to clear everybody out, bring in Stevens and bring in the new front office, with Luke, and it was a change in attitude. It was we need to get faster, we need to get better, and our stars need to play better. Dustin Brown was not good last year. Kopitar was.
Yeah, he didn't.
Kopitar's having he's having an MVP,
absolutely.
MVP type of series.
Yeah, absolutely. So everything really changed, and it shifted once they made the change behind the bench and in the front office. So I'm excited. Because some of these games have looked like playoff hockey for the Kings, and when you're watching 30 games in and you're seeing the kind of energy that they're putting out there, amazing, really amazing.
They're getting a whiff of the cup.
Yeah, no, they are, and the Blackhawks are down this year, so that helps.
How's the wife holding up?
She's on the down low. She's kind of a front runner anyway. So, but the Blues are a good team. So the Blues are up there with the Kings. But they're doing what needs to be done. Like Vince said, it's just and I just see it continuing to go that way. But you always got to size yourself up. How do you do against Washington? How do you do against Pittsburgh? How do you against? That's really you're really going to see how you do against these teams, because the West is the West.
Right.
That's why that trip when they got started on this 8-game winning streak, that they started that on the road. Against some good teams.
East too. I mean, it was
against against
Chicago,
Capitals
Washington,
and against the
St.
Hawks.
Louis.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was a good trip.
Yep.
All right. Chip Kelly hires a couple of new coaches. The kids are getting ready to commit. Does that going to make? Of course, he cleaned out the defense. That was good. He hired the former defensive coordinator at Arkansas, Paul Rhodes, as his defensive back
right. Yeah. Just
coach, and Jerry Azarino as the
defensive
DC.
coordinator.
And Don Pullum as the linebacker coach. So we pretty much cleaned out an area that was pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Pathetic. Now, how much difference that's going to make, we don't know, but it can't get any worse. Right. I mean, it was a disaster.
Oh, an absolute disaster, and it makes you. I think this bowl game. I think for most Bruin fans, if that was Mora, coaching that team through a bowl game, instead of the interim Jed Fish, then it just feels like, oh God, do I even want to watch this? Do I even care about this? What's happening? I guess I'll watch it to see, how Rosen does in his final game, that sort of thing. But it's not a real indicator of things. But I think now it's a tryout, right?
Yeah.
It's a tryout, right? For Kelly's system.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal that the Bruins made a bowl game, right? Big deal, because it gives them that extra month of practice,
sure.
right?
So let me ask you with this kind of situation, these guys get hired like this, do they not say one word? Do they step away from the whole program until that bowl game's over with, or do they kind of come in and say?
It's a good question. I don't know. Obviously, with a head coach like Mora, he's gone.
Right.
Mora is not, Kelly is not going to be on the sideline. It's going to be Jed Fish, the interim, the offensive coordinator.
Right.
But with the other guys, I don't know. They packed their bags. They're gone. They're not on the sideline for the bowl game.
Right. I mean,
I'm guessing just because it's sort of like the end of a presidency, right? You don't actually leave office until the president stays president until
lame duck.
Exactly. So most of these guys are going to be coaching. I would guess.
Yeah, I was wondering how that all goes down.
Yeah, that's too bad. I wouldn't mind getting a look at. Of course, you probably can't instill a new system that quickly.
Right. Exactly.
No.
So it wouldn't be true.
You got to go with what it's got.
Yeah.
What got you there.
Yeah. What about the Ball brothers in?
Can we talk about something else? Really? Can we talk about the Trojans?
We will.
Well, we can talk about the Trojans on coaching or something like that. Like the Ball brothers will be if we have any time left in this whole thing.
I think we're there.
I hope we get.
All right. If you wanted to, they
No,
signed
we got-
with
we
some
got
Lithuanian
Next
coach.
is the Trojans.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go off on it because it's in my mind. I do think they need to put some new coaches in there somehow. Like I'm not a big fan of T. Martin, right? I hope he gets a job somewhere, right? And then, but it's who do you go after and get? Now, I like the defensive coordinator.
There's always people shifting around,
Right, yeah.
and Helton has been T. Martin's biggest cheerleader. He wants him to move on, not because he's done a poor job or anything like that, but because he's invested in him, and that's the sort of thing you do when you're a head coach. Is like when you bring somebody on, it's like I'm going to do everything. You're going to do everything you can for me, and I'm going to do everything I can to get you to the next level. I want you to be a head coach just like me. I don't know if T. Martin's going to get that. If he's going to get into the right program. T. Martin doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who's, going to go to West Texas, Southern State University.
Right.
He doesn't strike me as that kind of guy. So I think that everybody just pump the brakes on the Trojans, okay? All right?
I'm just telling you that the sense that I get with Lynn Swann.
That's an 11-win team.
Is that I know, and Helton plays for his job
and
every week.
I include Lynn Swann as like, relax, Lynn, just relax. I don't care how much of these guys are screaming. The big money donors. This guy's 27-9. Right?
I agree with you.
I'm not telling you. I'm
you.
just saying everybody needs to relax. Yeah. There doesn't need to be much change unless somebody leaves. Nobody's going to get fired. Nobody's going to get let go. If somebody moves on, then they hire somebody. But it's not broken. It's not broken.
Don't fix it.
It's not broken. So the Trojans don't need to do anything. And Lynn Swann needs to understand that just because donors scream doesn't mean that something's wrong. Donors just have a lot of money. They don't know football. They don't know head coaching. I didn't think Clay Helton was the right guy. I screamed a lot when Helton was hired. I just didn't think that he deserved to be elevated into the position of head coach at a legacy program like USC with just what he'd done.
Yeah.
He has proven that he's deserved it. And so there are plenty of people out there, though, who still think, Clay Helton is no Chip Kelly, and Clay Helton is he has been very good.
Is one of those people Lynn Swann?
Unfortunately, I think so. Yeah. I think so, but I think Lynn Lynn just needs to settle down. I think he is, but he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be one of those guys. He was originally, and he does listen to the donors because it's all about those big fat checks. But hey, they won the South. They're playing in a Cotton Bowl, and this could be a 12-win season.
No doubt about it.
A 12-win season, and at some point, it'll be funny if they're erecting a statue to Clay Helton. Everybody's saying, "Oh well, when he loses Darnold, we're going to find out what kind of coach he is."
JD Daniels,
when T. Martin leaves,
he got another kid behind him.
Daniels is junior. He's got one more year,
so
it's
Sears.
Yeah, but it's Fink. Fink is the guy.
Is that? Yeah, he's actually come in and moved the ball pretty good for him.
Yeah.
He hasn't had a lot of snaps. But he's fast.
Yes,
he is super fast.
Yeah,
and a lot of people get excited about that. And we talked with our friend about this, Dave, King, who's a big follower, and he's also a donor. And so, he looks at that and he says, look, Fink is fast, but you know what? It's going to be quite a drop off from Darnold to this guy, or even Jack Sears, local San Clemente boy, or JT Daniels when he gets here. There are several things. So we're going to see what happens.
Do you think Sam goes?
I waffle on this. I vacillate on this all the time. I think he needs to stay, but
no doubt about it. I think every kid goes out too early. But
he's a kid. There's part of me that thought Leinart was absolutely gone. Right. I thought Leinart was gone. I thought Barkley was gone. I thought these guys were gone, and I've always been a little surprised. I was surprised when Sanchez left. So I look at him and I would be surprised if he stayed, but I think he needs to stay. He feels like he's gone.
I think if you lose the the Pac-12 championship, and he doesn't win the MVP, and he loses that game to Stanford, I think he comes back. But because he won the Pac-12 championship and he won the MVP of that deal, he's only got a bowl game left. He's won the Rose Bowl. I think he's gone. That's my 2 cents. Now, I'm with you. He needs to stay.
He needs to stay.
He needs to stay, but I think it's going to be a deal where he's going to go in the top 12 of the draft, and he's going to get...
I thought the same thing about Leinart after he won the Heisman. He'd done enough. It was time for him to move on. I felt that way. But there was a deeper part to him that is very similar to what you see in Darnold. Matt Leinart always wanted to be the quarterback of USC. Darnold always wanted to be the quarterback of USC. There's an affinity there that he has. He might want to, like Leinart, take this team back, get them even higher than before. I was surprised when Leinart came back, and I'd be surprised if Darnold does, but I hope he does.
But
that team
do
could
the
be
Juju's
amazing.
and the Weinerts and all these guys the Reggie Bushes and all these guys that went and did pro, do you think they're in his ear going, dude, you got to go or you got to stay? Do you think they you think Sam asked them that question? Or do you think, I mean,
it's an
how much
interesting
does he
question.
get to communicate with those guys?
I don't know that he talks, well, he certainly does talk to Reggie Bush. Reggie's not allowed him back,
right.
you know,
True.
but which hopefully that, is rectified soon. Listen, he's listening to Clay Helton, and I think Clay Helton, like a lot of coaches, is you do what's best for your family, son.
Yeah.
You do what's best for your family. And it was the same thing, though. When Carroll was always that way with his players.
Right, yeah.
It was interesting when Sanchez decided to come out. Carroll was very biting in his remarks about Sanchez.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those kids where he didn't feel like he'd done enough. And he was sort of pissed when Sanchez decided
And
to
it
jump
came
ship.
out to be true.
Yeah. Like Helton doesn't strike me as that way. And, he's a Southern, Christian guy, aw shucks type guy who I think would never begrudge Darnold anything.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
So he's not there saying, come back, Sam.
Yeah.
You want to check your grab a Lakers score? They started at 4:00
Yeah.
in
Lakers.
New York, going for number 3 on the road.
Ball 1 for 7 yet.
Well,
Again, not playing in the fourth quarter as much. Lakers up 8 in the second period, 40-32.
all right.
And the Kings are down 2 goals at the end of the first.
Who are they playing in that?
The Devils. The Kings are playing the Devils, and the Lakers are up 40-32 with 7 minutes to go in the second period.
All right. Is there any Clipper news that we need to revisit?
Yeah, that's a dumpster fire. They just need to. Do you clear it? I mean, what do you do? I mean,
They're playing better.
It tells you how bad they need Griffith. So,
Yeah.
but it is what it is.
Yeah, they've had a lot of injuries, and so again, I think Rivers gets a pass. I think the Clippers get a pass.
Yeah, it's been devastating.
Gallinari back.
Yeah, he's back hurt again, right?
No, did he get hurt again?
I thought he got hurt again.
His shot never came back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You know who needs to go on the DL? Lonzo's shot needs to go on the DL.
Yeah.
His shot needs to go on the DL. And apparently Magic is hiring a shot doctor, not just for him, but for
Really?
Larry Bird coming in.
All right. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
I think that'll do it for tonight.
It's bowl season. We got bowls.
Yeah.
Starting. We talk
Yeah.
about those next week.
Yeah, we'll get on to those next week.
All right.
All right. We are out.
Good night.
Peace.